I have openly admitted to having a problem. I buy too many books, okay? And so my physical TBR has gotten to a overwhelming amount of books. We're talking like close to 200, okay? What's up, book besties? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time watching. My name is Bree, and you guessed it. Can you see that? No. We are going to be talking about books today. I have got my top 5 books of 2026 so far for you. How are we even in a point to be at a mid-year check-in? Okay, because in my mind, she's a runner, she's a track star. 2026 has flown by, but then at the same time, it's felt like it's been 6 years. Somebody explain that to me. The math is not mathing for me at all on this, but I digress. We are here. I have read some incredible books this year. I will admit I am moving at a glacial pace, especially compared to previous years when it comes to reading. I've only read 30 books so far. Of those 30 books, 9 of them have been 5-star reads, and of those 9, I've got my top 5 for you. So let's get into it. All right, let me just start off by saying that these are in no particular order, okay? I do not have a top favorite countdown. These are just all my babies, okay? You can't just ask your mom who's her favorite child. She's not gonna tell you. So same thing applies here. I love them all equally. I love them all for different reasons. All right, y'all, first on the list is actually the very first book that I read for the year. I have openly admitted to having a problem. I buy too many books, okay? And so my physical TBR has gotten to a overwhelming amount of books. We're talking like close to 200, okay? I don't know. Don't blame me. I'm not the problem. Publishers just keep coming out with new books. That's all there is to it, okay? And then there's like a backlog of hundreds of years of books that I also have to get. I don't know, okay? I don't know. Anyways, I decided to put all of my physical books in a TBR jar this year, and thus every month I let the book gods decide for me. This is the first one that I picked out for January, so I don't know if that was a sign or whatnot, but let it be known that it is now in the top 5, and yeah. And if you know, I am going to try not to burst into tears while I talk about this book, and that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Oh man, there is not a single day that has gone by that I have not thought about Jude St. Francis and his friends. This book follows 4 college classmates pretty much through their life. It revolves around their friendship and what their careers look like, success, addiction, trauma, there's grief, relationships, you name a human experience that somebody could go through, and I guarantee you it's probably in this book somewhere. I don't think I've ever cried so much reading something. At least 75 to 80% of this book, I was just a hot mess. And it's like one of those like silent cries where it's 2 a.m. and you're just like, and yeah, I have no shame in my cry game. And I also can openly admit that I cry very easily, but this book is so heavy, and like not even just like in the sense of like size or weight, but literally this book is so heavy in its themes and just what it encompasses. I don't want to give any of it away. It is one that I will suggest reading the triggers if things can get a little touchy for you. I went into it completely blind. I had no idea what to expect, and wow, one of the best books, not only just the best book of the year, but one of the best books I think I've ever read. This is the type of book that changes your perspective. It rewires your brain. You look at life completely differently after you have read this. So at the center of our story is Jude St. Francis. He is one of the 4 young men that we talk about in this book. And this man, the cards that he has been dealt in life are absolutely just astonishing, okay? And the truth of the matter is that that really does happen to people. You know, there are people that are going through so much that you'd never guess. You'd never know that they are suffering, that they are sacrificing, that they are dealing with demons. And that's probably one of my biggest takeaways from this book is you just never know the battles that somebody else is facing. So if you can show up with a little bit of kindness, do it. 100% be that person, because you never know who's going to actually need your smile that day, who's going to need your compliment that day. That little bit of nice can go such a long way. And truly one of the most remarkable books that I've ever read. There is a lot of controversy that surrounds this book, and I think it's honestly unfair to people who have suffered the trauma of this. I think if you go into this and you don't necessarily agree with how Hanya portrays these characters, and perhaps I think maybe your perspective could be skewed a little bit by privilege. And I say that as somebody who has their own type of privilege, but also on the other end, I say that as somebody who completely understands having grown up through traumatic experiences. This book is just one that while I want everybody to read, I also err on the side of caution that it is not for everybody to read. Absolutely loved it. I love Jude St. Francis. Next on the list should actually come at no surprise, and that is going to be Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. ML, I am a ride or die for ML. Blood Over Brighthaven happens to be one of my favorite books of all time. And so I knew picking this up that I had high expectations, and let me tell you, she blew them out of the park. This is through and through an epic fantasy, all right? We go into this expecting, kind of war vibes. We don't really know much about the enemies other than that these people have been clashing for a long time. We're in a secluded area. We're given a young son who is born into this very elite warrior family. And he's getting to the age where he's starting to question things. And so not only are we dealing with a war amongst enemies, but we're dealing with these just insane internal battles. Mamoru is facing, like I said, not really trusting what he's being told. And so he's battling with this idea of, is this truth? Is this false? Have I been lied to by my family? And then you have his mother, the matriarch of the family. However, you will find that there's a lot of misogyny in this book, and they do follow what they consider like traditional roles, where she is pretty much just an incubator for these children. I mean, her father-in-law basically tells her that to her face. And so she's facing her own internal battles where she's trying to figure out who she is, whether or not she should be open and honest with her son about the questions that he's asking. And then she's also battling identity, battling a simulation. She's, battling a husband who perhaps doesn't see her as valuable as she truly is. And then speaking of the husband, he's facing internal battles of his own where he's struggling to stay within traditions that his family has passed down for generations, or breaking free of that and being who he truly wants to be. There is so much to explore in this book, and her world building is always incredible. The magic system is very elemental. I am just blown away with how good she sets up this place where you can get lost in. And when I tell you you are going to get lost, you will, because I think every single one of these books on my list is going to run you through the ringer, okay? You're going to be crying, you're going to be laughing, you're going to be kicking your feet, you're going to be doing all of the things, and this book is no exception. I think by Like no spoiler or anything like that, but like by the halfway point, I was again silently sobbing in bed at 2 a.m. trying not to wake Brandon up because of just the emotional depths that this book is going to drag you to. And I loved every second of it. I think it's an incredible book. Like I said, it is an epic fantasy. So you are going to dive into that world building. You're going to get a unique magic system. You're going to deal with war and battles and everything else. But like I said, at the core of it is this human experience. It's this story of really motherhood, because Misaki is pretty much a central character within this book, and just you can't help but absolutely feel for this woman and everything that she goes through by the time you get done with it. Hands down, one of my favorite books of 2026. Next on the list is actually one of my favorite series of all time, and that is the Legendborn cycle by Tracy Deonn. Listen, first and foremost, I cannot believe that I waited so long to read this. I actually picked these up a few years ago. I slept on these and I regret it greatly, because these are some of the best books that I have ever read. This is a YA fantasy series. We follow Bree, who is a 16-year-old girl dealing with the grief of losing her mother. She is then accepted into a UNC early college program at UNC Chapel Hill, which is a predominantly white institution. So not only is she dealing with feelings of, before her mother's death and after her death, identity, she's also dealing with microaggressions. She's dealing with racism. The one thing that I have to commend Tracy on is she does not shy away from sharing the real lived-in Black experience. And I think that's what makes Bree this commendable, nuanced, beautiful character, is that she's real. She exists in our world right now. There are plenty of women, there are plenty of girls who have read these books and they see themselves in it. And I think one of the most important things that books can do is provide people with a mirror. And I think Tracy does that so fluidly. Her writing is so smooth. I was right there with Bree at UNC, going through the motions with her, because it's just such a realistic take on our world. And then she throws in this magical realism. She blends these two worlds just so effortlessly that you feel it the entire time you're reading it, Now, while Bree is at this school, she discovers a secret society, and lo and behold, at the bottom of it, it is connected to her mother's death. And so in book one, we go through pretty much unraveling this mystery of what this secret society is all about, why her mother was involved. At the core of the Legendborn cycle is an Arthurian retelling, and it is one of the most unique retellings that I have ever read. Tracy is just like light years beyond this world. She's immaculate in my mind. An auto by author through and through. You just have to read it. You have to experience these books because they are so good. We don't have word on a fourth book, but I already know that it's also going to be one of my top books of the year. So while these are 3 books, I am considering them all just as one whole series. I couldn't even tell you which one of these is my favorite. Okay, it's Oathbound, but anyway, I love everything Tracy does. I love this series like 10 toes down for Bree, for Cell, and Nick. Just some of the best characters I've ever read. It's chef's kiss. Next on our list, I actually had the privilege of reading the arc of this one, and I am so grateful that I got the chance to get an early sneak peek at it, because of course, you already know, it's here in the video, and that is Our Sister's Keeper by Jasmine Holmes. This is one of the most unique books I think I've ever read. So yeah, it is a historical fiction combined, blended seamlessly with Southern Gothic psychological horror. Now, I love a good psychological horror book. However, historical fiction and I, like, we're not besties. We truly are not, which is funny because 2 of the 5 books on the list are historical fiction. Maybe I do like it more than I want to admit, but it's not always my first grab. But however, Jasmine Holmes has completely converted me to historical fiction, because this book is so good. We follow a husband and wife who are new to a special town. This town has been untouched by white supremacy. We are in 1927, I believe it is, in Mississippi, okay? And so this town is only Black people, which to them, they've seen nothing but success. They're excited to get in. They want a piece of it for themselves. They want to experience this joy that their community has found. However, what our main character ends up discovering is something entirely out of this world. There are what they call groanings, which are like ghosts of other women within the town, and they are affecting the people that are there. But not just any people that are there. The women are actually the only ones who can see them, and that is because the women of this town, a small group of them known as carriers, actually hold on to the memories and the trauma of the men in this group. We're going to see the story talk about who these ghost women are, how the other wives have assimilated into this almost Stepford wife category, and most importantly, how our FMC is plagued with being influenced by her new environment. Again, this book is going to take you on a roller coaster of emotions. You're going to hit every peak and valley that you can think of when it comes to the human experience. And the way Jasmine does it is so beautiful. The way in which she opens up the doors for you to experience Black sisterhood, to see what it's like to be filled with rage, to experience resistance. I mean, she is phenomenal. I loved every second of this book. I actually have a copy in the mail right now. It's actually lost in the mail, so USPS, you better be on your fucking shit. Stick it. Get to my house. But anyway, that's something for me and the mailman to discuss at a different time. But yeah, you already know, if I love a book, I have to have a physical copy of it. So it is coming. It better be coming. Otherwise, I'll be having words with people. But yeah, another one, obviously it's made the list. It's in this video. You have to do it, right? And last but certainly not least on our list is James by Percival Everett. Historical fiction. I know, I just got done telling you guys that I didn't like historical fiction, but apparently I do, okay? Percival Everett, the man that you are, my guy, auto by author. In fact, we went on a trip to New York and I brought this to read in the car, and we are in the middle of New York City. It's about a 16-hour drive for us. We're in the Midwest to New York, and the day after I finished this, we went to a bookstore and I immediately had to grab another one of his books because his writing is just that good. This is another retelling. We are given the story of Little Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, and of course Jim, who is the slave that goes on this little adventure with them. Instead of the version that we are given in Mark Twain's story, Percival changes our perspective and gives us one of the most incredible, I'm not going to cry, one of the most incredible characters that I have ever come across. My heart, the way I tell you that I love Jim. I love James. He is just such a beautiful character. And like I said, the way that Percival shares like his lens, because he is a black man, and so we are getting a perspective of a slave from a black man who just does it in a way that makes you sit there and think, like, why couldn't this have been the way it really happened? Who's to say that they weren't really doing what he gave us in this book? And I don't want to blow it or ruin any of the parts for you, because there are so many poignant, just the narration of this and the person that Jim is, incredible. Immaculate. There are not enough adjectives to describe how good this book is at its core. Percival Everett is ingenious, okay? The story that he weaves while giving us this, one of the most common, you know, I think, classics, so to speak, of Huckleberry Finn, the way that he weaves it with his own ideas, I have no words for it. That's just how good it is. This is one of those books. I read the first chapter. I closed the book and I thought to myself, holy shit. This is one of the best books that I have ever read. It's one of those that you know right off the jump that this is it. This is Percival Everett did his big one with this one. And I already know that he's continue to do it with all the rest of his books and the ones before this and the ones that'll come after this, because of how well this is written. His thought process is just brilliant behind this. And I'm pissed off at myself for waiting so long to read this, because I have had it on my shelf, and this was another TBR jar pick, and I guess my jar just knew, like, we need to get to the good ones, girl. Like, let's go. Just, yeah, put it on the list, okay? I don't know what more to tell you other than this is one of the best books I've ever read. Percival Everett, you are a genius, okay? This, top down, other than, no, because I loved all of them. I love Jude St. Francis. I love Bree. I love Misaki. I love Mira and Thea from Our Sister's Keeper. And Jim, y'all, I might not be reading as many books as I did last year, but let me tell you, I am being introduced to some of the most incredible characters that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Books that I will recommend to people on the street, okay? If somebody put a gun to my head and said, give me the best books you've ever read, these 5 are easily on that list, okay? They are. I don't know what else you want to hear from me other than you need to trust me, okay? You need to trust me, and that's it, and that is all. These are my top 5 favorite books of the year so far, and I hope that the last half of the year is just as great, and if it's not, I have been blessed to know these characters, to be able to read other books by these authors, because wow, I'm truly, this is like the second half of my life, y'all. I'm truly living now after reading some of these books. And so I hope that you will add some of them to your TBR. And if you've already read them, you know what to do. Let's talk about it. Drop it down below. Let me know your thoughts on any of these books if you've read them. Of course, if you have not liked the video already, I don't know. I don't want to force you to do anything, but I would greatly appreciate it if you did like my video. I mean, if you want to go so far as to subscribe to my channel, that would be even better. But again, I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do, but just trust me when I tell you we have a good time over here. And obviously you already know we're reading good books, right? So yeah, just, spread the love for your girl. But yeah, y'all, that's going to be it for me. And of course, I hope you have a magical, wonderful, incredible day, week, month, year.